What if the golden age of Hollywood wasn't as glamorous as you always thought? Imagine this. The same stars who lit up the screen with charm, grace, and picture-perfect romance were living lives filled with secrets they prayed would never surface. These weren't small slip-ups. These were patterns, obsessions, and forbidden passions that shaped their careers and destroyed countless relationships behind closed doors. Their beauty was dazzling. Their fame was enormous. But their loyalty? That's where the real drama begins. So, are you ready to peek behind the curtain and uncover the affairs Hollywood hoped you'd never find out about? 25. John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy might not have been a movie star, but his deep connection to Golden Age Hollywood made him a central figure in the era's most secret cheating stories. On the outside, he looked like the charming leader whom everyone admired, but behind closed doors, he lived a wild life filled with hidden affairs. His links to actresses, singers, and glamorous Hollywood personalities created a private world that hardly matched his clean public image. Women were drawn to him everywhere he went, and he rarely said no. Many around him worked quietly to hide the things he did so his reputation would stay perfect. Even powerful movie studios protected him because his presence added a level of excitement and mystery to Hollywood. He became known as a man who loved danger and attention more than loyalty. 24. Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas was one of the brightest faces of the Golden Age, but his personal life was filled with non-stop cheating that followed him through his entire career. With his bold charm and strong roles on screen, he quickly became a symbol of masculine confidence, and women everywhere admired him. That attention fed his private behavior, and he often entertained more than one woman at a time, even while he was married. Rumors of his affairs moved through Hollywood so often that many people saw them as part of his lifestyle. Some actresses tried to stay away from him because they already knew how he behaved in private. Still, he continued seeking excitement wherever he went. Studios often stepped in to keep his scandals quiet because they needed him to stay marketable. His cheating habits became an unforgettable part of his long and complicated Hollywood story. 23. Bette Davis. Bette Davis was one of the strongest personalities in Golden Age Hollywood, and her talent made her unforgettable. But behind the powerful characters she played on screen, she lived a personal life full of heated romances and repeated cheating. She had a fiery nature that made her fall in and out of love quickly, and she rarely stayed loyal to anyone for long. On film sets, she often developed deep connections with her co-stars, which sometimes turned into affairs. These choices caused major tension in her marriages and added fuel to the dramatic stories surrounding her. Hollywood insiders whispered about her private life for years, saying she followed her emotions wherever they led her. Even when the press tried to expose her, studios worked hard to protect her image. Her cheating became part of the whirlwind energy that people associated with her name. 22. Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe appeared to be the sweet, innocent blonde bombshell who captured the world with her soft voice and bright smile. But her private life told a different story. Behind her beauty and charm, she struggled with loneliness, and that made her seek comfort in secret relationships, even when she was married. People in Hollywood talked quietly about the number of affairs she had with actors, directors, producers, and even powerful men outside the film world. She carried herself with a mix of vulnerability and desire, which drew men toward her and pushed her into situations she couldn't walk away from. Several marriages fell apart because she kept searching for affection beyond her home. Studios tried to hide her private behavior to protect her rising stardom. Her cheating became part of the tragic and emotional journey that shaped her time in Hollywood. 21. Ingrid Bergman. Ingrid Bergman was loved for her elegant beauty and innocent charm, but her personal life shocked many fans when her long history of cheating reached the headlines. She had a strong desire for emotional connection, and that often pushed her into intense relationships outside her marriage. Her most famous scandal began when she started an affair with director Roberto Rossellini, even though both of them were married. This moment turned her world upside down, and the public reacted strongly to her choices. But what many didn't know was that this was not her first time stepping outside her marriage. She had already developed a pattern of falling deeply for men she worked with. Hollywood tried to calm the chaos, but the scandal became too big to hide. Her cheating became a defining chapter of her life and changed the way the world looked at her forever. 20. Warren Beatty. Warren Beatty carried a reputation that almost became bigger than his acting career. He was known everywhere as a man who simply could not stop cheating, and the stories about him spread faster than his movies. From his early years, he became the main attraction wherever he went, because women were instantly drawn to his charm. He loved the spotlight, and he loved attention even more, which pushed him into countless affairs. Some of the biggest names in Hollywood shared private moments with him, and many relationships ended badly because he never stayed faithful. Friends and co-stars joked that he changed partners as often as he changed roles, and studios quietly handled the fallout. His cheating stories became legendary across the Golden Age, making him one of the most talked about figures when it came to infidelity. His lifestyle defined his Hollywood identity. 19. Tony Curtis. Tony Curtis was a handsome, fast-rising star who quickly became a favorite in Hollywood, but he struggled with loyalty throughout his life. His good looks brought him so much attention that he found it almost impossible to resist temptation. Even during his marriage to Janet Leigh, he continued drifting into secret affairs with actresses, extras, and women he met on set. Hollywood quietly buzzed with stories of him sneaking around, and people close to him knew cheating had become a regular part of his world. He enjoyed the thrill of a new romance, even if it hurt the people he loved. Studios tried their best to protect his image because they relied on him to bring in audiences. But behind the polished smile, his private life was full of complicated emotions and messy choices. His non-stop cheating shaped his reputation during the Golden Age. 18. Barbara Stanwyck. Barbara Stanwyck was admired for her strong screen presence and sharp emotional depth, but her personal life carried a different kind of intensity. Behind the controlled and polished image she showed the public, she moved through relationships filled with secret affairs and emotional conflicts. Her marriage to Robert Taylor struggled under the pressure of her growing connection with other men in the industry, and rumors of her cheating followed her from one film set to another. She had a complicated need for affection, and that often pushed her toward people who offered comfort outside her home. Hollywood insiders whispered about the tension inside her marriage long before it became public. Studios did what they could to protect her reputation, but the stories kept spreading. Her pattern of cheating became part of the darker, more hidden side of her life, contrasting sharply with her powerful on-screen characters. 17. Spencer Tracy. Spencer Tracy was respected everywhere for his natural acting talent, but his personal life was far less controlled than his performances. He spent decades trapped between a troubled marriage and a long line of affairs that he could never walk away from. His most famous relationship was with Katharine Hepburn, but even before that, he had already created a long history of cheating with actresses and women he met during his travels. Hollywood circles knew he struggled with commitment, and his drinking made his choices even more reckless. Studios often cleaned up his messes, hoping audiences would keep their focus on his films instead of his scandals. His cheating became such a regular part of his life that people close to him accepted it as something he simply could not stop. His secret relationships shaped his reputation as much as his award-winning roles. 16. Lana Turner. Lana Turner lived in a world filled with bright lights, fast romance, and constant attention, and she rarely stayed loyal to any one relationship for long. Her beauty made her one of the most desired women in Hollywood, and she enjoyed the affection that came her way. However, this desire for excitement often pushed her into multiple affairs, even while she was married. Set insiders talked about her cheating long before the newspapers ever caught on. She moved from one intense relationship to another, sometimes slipping into dangerous situations with men who added even more drama to her life. Each new romance brought fresh complications, and studios often had to manage the fallout. Her cheating habits became a well-known part of her story, mixing glamour with chaos. Behind her stunning screen image was a woman searching for emotional satisfaction she never fully found. 15. Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra was the kind of star who made crowds scream and hearts melt, but loyalty was never his strongest trait. His smooth voice and confident charm drew people toward him everywhere he went, and he rarely turned down the attention. Even during his marriages, he continued drifting into new affairs with actresses, singers, and social women who admired him. Hollywood insiders talked about his cheating constantly because it happened so often that it became part of his identity. His marriage to Ava Gardner was full of passion, but also packed with infidelity on both sides, and his relationships before and after her followed the same pattern. Sinatra lived fast, loved hard, and never slowed down long enough to keep a promise. His cheating stories blended into the whirlwind lifestyle that made him one of the most talked about men of the golden age. 14. Jean Harlow. Jean Harlow was known as the original blonde bombshell, but her personal life carried far more drama than her glamorous image suggested. She entered relationships quickly, and many of them ended just as fast because loyalty was not something she held on to tightly. She had a habit of drifting toward men who excited her, even when she was not free to do so. Behind the scenes, people whispered about her cheating long before she became a major star. Her troubled marriage to Paul Byrne added more fuel to the rumors, and some believed her affairs contributed to the tension inside their home. Even after his tragic death, she continued moving through romances marked by emotional intensity and impulsive choices. Hollywood worked hard to protect her image, but her cheating stories remained part of her complicated, short-lived journey. 13. Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney was one of Hollywood's most energetic stars, but his personal life was an endless storm of cheating, broken promises, and impulsive romances. Even at a young age, he became famous for moving from one relationship to another faster than anyone else in the industry. His charm, humor, and boyish confidence drew countless women toward him, and he rarely resisted temptation. He went through many marriages, and almost every one of them suffered because he struggled to stay faithful. Film crews and insiders often joked that he could not walk onto a set without falling into another affair. Studios tried to keep these scandals quiet because he was a box office favorite, but the rumors kept spreading. His cheating became such a constant part of his life that it almost overshadowed his talent. Mickey Rooney's romantic world remained as chaotic as his fast-paced Hollywood career. 12. Humphrey Bogart. Humphrey Bogart became the symbol of tough, mysterious masculinity, but behind his cool screen presence, he battled a complicated personal life filled with cheating. His early marriages were especially troubled as he constantly slipped into affairs with women he worked with. His relationship with Lauren Bacall became one of Hollywood's biggest love stories. But it began while he was still married, adding another layer to his long pattern of infidelity. Friends and co-workers knew he struggled with stability, especially when drinking, and late nights on set blurred his judgment. Studio executives often handled the fallout quietly, because they wanted his tough guy image to stay strong for the public. Even after he settled into a more stable life later on, his history of cheating left a mark on his past. Bogart's messy romantic world contrasted sharply with the calm, controlled characters he played. 11. Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn became one of Hollywood's most notorious womanizers, and his cheating stories became legendary. His handsome face, adventurous spirit, and bold personality made him irresistible to many women, and he took full advantage of that attention. He rarely stayed faithful to anyone, moving through affairs with actresses, extras, and even fans who followed him from set to set. His lifestyle was wild and reckless, filled with late-night parties and dangerous choices. Hollywood insiders expected scandals whenever his name came up because he lived in a world where boundaries hardly existed. Several marriages fell apart because he could not walk away from temptation. Studios struggled to manage his behavior, especially when his private life began spilling into courtrooms and public headlines. His pattern of cheating became such a major part of his identity that it overshadowed many of his achievements. 10. Rita Hayworth. Rita Hayworth was loved everywhere for her beauty and grace, but her personal life was far more tangled than her elegant image suggested. She struggled with emotional emptiness, and that often pushed her toward men who gave her temporary escape. Even during her marriages, she slipped into secret affairs that created tension behind the scenes. Hollywood insiders whispered about her romantic choices as she moved between different relationships, searching for the affection she never seemed to find at home. Her marriage to Orson Welles was filled with passion, but also marked by infidelity on both sides, adding even more drama to her life. Studios tried to hide her private struggles so audiences would only see the glamorous star. Yet her repeated cheating shaped her real story, showing the painful contrast between her radiant screen presence and the emotional chaos she lived with. 9. Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin was a comic genius on screen, but his personal life was far from lighthearted. He had a long history of cheating that followed him from one marriage to the next, often involving much younger women he met during auditions or film shoots. His fame gave him access to endless attention, and he rarely turned it down. Hollywood buzzed with stories of his affairs, some of which caused major scandals that threatened his career. Several marriages collapsed because he couldn't stay loyal, and his behavior sometimes led to public legal battles. Studios tried to manage the damage, but Chaplin's private choices often spilled into the headlines. His cheating became one of the most talked about parts of his life, creating a sharp contrast with the innocent, lovable characters he played. Behind the humor was a man living in constant romantic chaos. 8. Robert Mitchum. Robert Mitchum carried that cool, rebellious attitude everywhere he went, and it followed him right into his personal life. Behind his laid-back charm, he moved through relationships with a carelessness that made cheating almost routine. Women were drawn to his rough edges and unpredictable personality, and he took advantage of that attention without thinking about consequences. Even while he was married, he drifted into secret affairs with actresses, models, and women he met during long nights of partying. Hollywood insiders joked that he treated romance the same way he treated trouble, something he walked into without hesitation. Studios tried to protect him because his bad boy image sold tickets, but the stories kept spreading. His cheating became such a big part of his reputation that people around him accepted it as part of his lifestyle. Mitchum's wild, rebellious nature shaped both his career and his messy romantic world. 7. Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth Taylor is remembered as one of the most beautiful and emotional stars of the Golden Age, but her love life was filled with intense affairs and repeated cheating. She followed her heart with fierce passion, even when it meant stepping into relationships that caused scandal across Hollywood. Her affair with Eddie Fisher became one of the biggest shockwaves in entertainment history. But it was just one example of the tangled romances she moved through. Even before that, she had already developed a pattern of falling for men who were not hers to take. Her emotional intensity made her seek deep connection quickly, often leaving her marriages in pieces. Hollywood studios tried to protect her because she was a major box office star, but her cheating stories became too big to hide. Her romantic life became a dramatic saga that fans watched as closely as her films. 6. Steve McQueen. Steve McQueen, known as the King of Cool, lived a fast life that rarely included loyalty. His rough charm, confidence, and rebellious energy made him irresistible to women, and he slipped into affairs with ease. Even during his marriage to Niall Adams, he moved through secret relationships with actresses and women he met on film sets, often leaving emotional damage behind him. People in Hollywood knew he struggled with commitment, especially when fame magnified his desire for excitement. His tough guy image on screen matched the unpredictable choices he made. In private, studios cleaned up his scandals because they needed him to stay marketable, but his cheating habits became impossible to ignore. He chased thrill after thrill, never slowing down long enough to repair the relationships he broke. McQueen's infidelity became part of the chaotic energy that defined his life and career. 5. Desi Arnaz. Desi Arnaz was loved for his talent and charm, but behind his successful career, he lived a life filled with non-stop cheating. Even while starring in one of television's most wholesome shows, he secretly moved from one affair to another. His marriage to Lucille Ball suffered the most, as his infidelity became constant and impossible to hide. Parties, nightclubs, and studio sets all played a part in his complicated romantic world. Hollywood insiders knew he struggled with discipline, especially when success brought endless attention from women. Lucille tried to manage the situation for years, but his cheating eventually broke them apart. Still, many people in the industry accepted his behavior as something he simply would not change. His infidelity became one of the most famous stories connected to Golden Age Hollywood, blending talent, chaos, and heartbreak into one unforgettable life. 4. Joan Crawford. Joan Crawford built her career on elegance, power, and ambition, but her private life was filled with passionate affairs that often crossed the line into cheating. She had a magnetic personality that drew people toward her, and she enjoyed the attention that came with fame. Even while married, she slipped into secret relationships with co-stars, directors, and influential men in the industry. Hollywood insiders whispered about her romantic choices, saying she used her charm to get what she wanted, both professionally and emotionally. Studios worked hard to keep her scandals hidden because she was one of their most valuable stars. Still, her pattern of cheating followed her throughout her long career. Crawford's romantic life carried the same intensity as her dramatic roles, filled with bold decisions and complicated emotions. Her infidelity became a lasting part of her powerful but troubled Hollywood story. 3. Clark Gable. Clark Gable was one of the most admired leading men of the Golden Age, but behind his confident smile, he carried a long history of cheating that never really stopped. His rugged charm drew women toward him everywhere he went, and he often found himself in affairs that created tension both on set and at home. Even during his marriages, he slipped into secret romances with co-stars and women who admired him. Hollywood circles whispered constantly about his private choices, and many actresses knew he had a reputation for being impossible to resist, but even harder to trust. Studios tried to cover up his infidelity to protect his image as the perfect gentleman, but the stories continued to grow. Gable lived his life with intensity, and loyalty was rarely part of that path. His cheating became one more dramatic chapter in his complicated Hollywood journey. 2. Ava Gardner. Ava Gardner had a beauty that stopped people in their tracks, but her love life was full of chaos, passion, and a long trail of cheating that Hollywood could never ignore. She moved through relationships with fiery emotion, often drawn to men who added excitement, but also trouble to her life. Even during her marriages, she slipped into affairs that caused heartbreak and scandal. Her time with Frank Sinatra was especially dramatic, filled with explosive arguments, deep passion, and infidelity on both sides. Hollywood insiders knew she lived by her desires, often making impulsive choices that led to more secrets. Studios tried to control the rumors surrounding her, but her cheating stories became part of her legend. Gardner's romantic world was every bit as wild and stormy as her on-screen roles, showing a woman searching for intensity rather than stability. 1. Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando became one of the most captivating actors Hollywood ever produced, but his personal life was even more intense than his powerful performances. He had endless charisma, and women were drawn to him instantly. That attention followed him everywhere, and he fell into one affair after another, creating a long, complicated history of cheating. His relationships rarely stayed calm because he chased emotional excitement more than commitment. Many of his co-stars became involved with him, and insiders often joked that romance followed him onto every set he stepped on. Even while in serious relationships, he continued exploring new connections without hesitation. Studios quietly managed his scandals because his talent brought in huge audiences, but his infidelity became one of the most talked about parts of his life. Brando's cheating fit perfectly into the unpredictable, passionate energy that defined both his work and his world. And there you have it, the hidden affairs, the wild romances, and the scandals that Hollywood spent years trying to sweep under the rug. These 25 Golden Age stars may have looked perfect under the spotlight, but their private lives told a very different story. Now the real question is, which of these stars surprised you the most? If you want more untold Hollywood stories, more behind-the-scenes scandals, and more truth the studios never wanted you to know, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss what's coming next. Ready for another jaw-dropping deep dive, dropping deep dive, dropping deep dive.